What if Blaze was in Sonic Prime? As you all know, a couple of years ago, we were blessed with a new animated series known as Sonic Prime. And that left me thinking, what would happen if the other characters were also placed into this world? What would they look like and how would they act? So who better to pick than the alternate dimension princess herself, Blaze? Start off, let's work on her new yoke design. So for new yoke, people know that as the big Eggman empire, what would happen if Eggman won, and trying to fit Blaze into the scenario was honestly pretty easy. Because what happens when you take a princess into a big city? Well, then she just becomes a big CEO. I imagine that she would use the Soul Emeralds to sell fake energy power-ups to her customers, kind of like the fake Chaos Emerald. So having Blaze as a CEO would definitely help in being an antagonist to the Resistance. The Resistance over here is trying to take down Eggman, try and do what they can to have the power. Now, what if you come in here with CEO Blaze, working for both sides? Now, for her, she's not really a bad guy, not really a good guy, more of a neutral just in the middle. One of those, it's just business kind of people. So you got Blaze over here selling the Resistance some soul energy. You got Blaze over here selling the Eggman Council some soul energy. Both of those two sides are using it together, trying to fight one another. And as we all know, Tails is the original creator of the fake Chaos Emerald, meaning that 9 could be possibly one of the original creators of the fake Soul Emerald. Blaze over here, being the guardian of all the Soul Emeralds, could have gone over, seen 9's genius, contracted him to go work for her, and once she got what she wanted, she threw him out like yesterday's trash. Further reinforcing 9's ability to not trust anyone, to not care about anyone, to feel like his value was taken for granted, and only leading him further down the path of vengeance. So Corpo Blaze would obviously be very powerful, very in charge, always making sure that she gets the job done, very business-oriented kind of girl. I once heard someone talk about how in Sonic Prime, what if every single character was based on a different part of themselves? So I was like, okay, you know what, that'd be a pretty fun idea to play around with. So what if we get Business Blaze over here? You know, Business Blaze could be her sense of duty, because in the Soul Kingdom she has her empire. So of course she would go and have an empire here, being a CEO. And unfortunately, you know, does break her morals a bit. Usually she would have that sense of justice, but you know, we'll see. We'll play a lot around with that later on. So next up, we have the Boss Cage Maze design. Now this one, I was pretty excited to do. This design, I thought it'd be fun to go and play with the whole character kind of cave-esque woman thing. You might be wondering, you know, she's a bit more shy here. You might be wondering, Danny, you know, why didn't you dress her up in leaves? Because the other characters have this really large leaf motif throughout their entire outfits. Their entire outfit is made with like leaves from the jungle, stuff like that. I thought that would be a bit too, not repetitive, but Blaze literally is known for having fire powers. So all of the leaves would just burn off anyways. Leaves aren't very durable when it comes to fire. I dressed her up in a more caveman type of outfit, you know, her outfit's made out of clay, some rocks, hide, rope, stuff like that. Couldn't use leaves or else they would burn. I had different ideas for this AU, but I wanted to choose this one because I thought it'd be interesting. As you all know, Amy in this AU is very much protective of the jungle, doesn't want anyone coming towards it or trying to steal or scavenge food. So I thought it'd be a lot more fun to have Blaze, like, have her powers kind of used against her in this scenario. Amy would be like really hard targeting Blaze, being like, hey, your fire powers are dangerous and they are just going to destroy the jungle if you try and use them. Make the whole scaredy cat kind of vibes. And I had a different idea of an AU as well. Like, I was tempted to go and make Blaze maybe have it be like a rivalry towards Amy. Blaze would be the leader, and then all the other scavengers would go and follow Blaze and be like, you know, fire versus Amy's hammer with the jungle. And could have had something like that. But you know what? With the CEO idea, I was like, that's already like too much of Blaze being, you know, not a little bad. I mean, technically, one of those things where it's one of those things that are like neutral, because she would obviously be here trying to get food for her people, stuff like that. But this one I think would be more interesting to have her be scared, tap into her inner fears. Not just that, but she's also especially afraid of heights. And because she's especially afraid of heights, it really does help play into that factor of Amy just scaring her off, being like, nah, you're not allowed to come down here into the jungle, you stay up there with everyone else. So next outfit would be for No Place. I really had a lot of fun with this one. I think this one's probably one of my favorite outfits out of the three, because this outfit plays into Blaze's sense of justice, her leadership as one of the royal guards. You know, her job would be to capture pirates, help those less fortunate, is very much on the side of justice. So the reason why I made her ponytail more curly is to represent the white wigs people wore, symbolism of power and status. Also, I was kind of like heavily inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean. Alright, we have pirates, yes. What would be good for Blaze? Blaze being a pirate would be interesting too, but I personally just couldn't see her as joining one of the gang being a pirate. I think it'd be a lot more interesting to be hunting the pirates instead. You know, trying to be like, hey, you guys are over here messing up my town, you're stealing from people, taking all these ancient artifacts. You know, like, that's it, we've had it with your ruffians, I'm gonna get you and, like, arrest them, put them in pirate jail. Something else we could play into is having Blaze with this big rivalry with the great and powerful Dread, one of the most feared pirates of all the land, making that her top priority and #1 nemesis. Every time she would always be so close to catching him, but he would always just get away in the nick of time. And it'd be fun to play around with that. Just tracking him, going around. Maybe even when the Great Dread lost his original crew, could have been due to Blaze shenanigans of finally defaming him as the fearsome, scary pirate. Then, of course, he left off. He hasn't been able to get the true treasure he's been awaiting for the longest time. So no longer is he a problem on Blaze's hands. He's just left on his way. She's like, well, there's no point in catching this pirate when clearly he's all washed up, breaking Captain Dread's confidence and making it to where he still has that fear of going and hunting for treasure. So one of the other reasons why I think it'd be better for Blaze to be a pirate hunter over here in the Royal Guard is because that's kind of what she did in Sonic Rush 2. You had Blaze going around to different islands, stopping pirates, because there was the great Eggman pirate. What was his name? Okay, Captain Whiskers. So his name was Captain Whiskers, and then you also had Johnny, a couple of other characters there who were pirate bandits. And the entire time, the story was about Blaze and Sonic going over, taking down these bandits from trying to take the Soul Emeralds, from stealing treasure, and hurting other innocent civilians. So this was basically just the perfect idea all in one. And here's the big reveal. What do you guys think? But we're not done yet, because lastly, we gotta have a name for each of these Blazes. Now, this is actually pretty hard to do because we have a lot of really good choices. Most of their names that go on definitely has a very cool similarity to them. So, of course, you got Tails with Mangy, Nine, and of course Sails, which is probably my favorite of the names. So coming up with a name for Blaze and what each of these different forms would be was a little tricky, but not too bad because I had help from a friend. First of all, New Yoke would be called Solar. And if you're wondering why, you know, Solar is the sun, of course, connected to her flames as Blaze, and also solar power. also making it connected to the Soul Emeralds and business that she runs. So we got solar power, we got the whole business oriented there. I think that works pretty good. Her name is Solar. Now for the next one. So with Boss Cage Maze, I actually thought that this one would be a lot harder to figure out, but the perfect name for this character, who is very much scared of everything, is probably the name Flicker. She's afraid of fire, she's afraid of heights. Flicker has that little play on for small or to flee. I think it works really well for our little Blaze right there. And the last one. Now this one, ironically, was actually pretty hard to figure it out. I was going through different names like Captain Burning Heart, or even Captain Gunfire, because funny, you know, gunpowder needs fire to shoot and blaze, but no, at the end, the name that I've decided to pick is actually Captain Brave Flame. And Flame was suggested by my friend Johnny. Thanks, Johnny. That actually works pretty well. I was like, okay, yo, Captain Flame, you know, just put a little twist, Captain Brave Flame. Okay, you know what, now we're getting somewhere, and I really like it, and I hope you do too. Which one is your favorite? And if any of you want to draw these versions of Blaze, I would love to see them. Just tag me with CuteyTCat on X, Blue Sky, and DeviantArt. If you made it to the end of this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and who would you like to see me tackle next? Silver or Shadow? I'll let you decide in the comments below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!